Ever wondered if landlords can directly cancel a rental lease when they sell property in Quebec? Well, let's unravel this together. Quebec's rental laws are designed to balance the rights of both tenants and landlords. A key feature is that landlords cannot directly cancel a rental lease when they decide to sell their property. This comes as a surprise to many, but it's a safeguard to protect tenants from sudden eviction. The law ensures stability and security for tenants, as their home cannot be taken away at a moment's notice just because the property is changing hands. Now, this doesn't mean landlords are powerless. There are procedures in place for landlords to follow if they wish to sell, but canceling the lease outright isn't one of them. So, in short, landlords do not hold the power to cancel a rental lease just because they are selling their property. Now, let's switch gears and look at this from the buyer's perspective. Imagine you found a perfect property in Quebec, but there's a catch. It's currently under lease. What should you do? Well, first and foremost, you need to understand that the lease continues to be valid even after the property's sale. As the new owner, you step into the shoes of the landlord, and it's your responsibility to respect the existing lease. What does this mean? Simply put, you cannot evict the tenant before the lease ends. The tenant's rights must be upheld, and this includes their right to stay in the property until the lease expires. This is a legal obligation that you, as the buyer, must adhere to. But what if you want to occupy the property yourself? Well, you can negotiate with the tenant. Perhaps they're willing to leave earlier, or maybe they're open to a buyout. However, it's critical to remember that you cannot force the tenant to leave. Any agreement to end the lease early must be mutually agreed upon. Moreover, it's important to involve a legal professional when dealing with these negotiations to ensure that all actions are within the confines of Quebec's rental laws. So as a buyer, remember to respect the existing lease and understand the tenant's rights. After all, a smooth transaction benefits everyone involved. So what about the seller's perspective? What should they do in this situation? Well, as a property owner, selling your property doesn't automatically give you the right to cancel the existing lease. This is a common misconception. In Quebec, the rental laws are geared towards protecting tenants, so it's crucial that you, as a seller, understand your responsibilities in this situation. First and foremost, communication is key. Let your tenant know about the sale and reassure them that their lease will not be canceled. It's not just about being courteous, it's about respecting their rights too. Remember, the tenant has the right to stay until the end of their lease period, regardless of the sale. If you need the property to be vacant, it's not uncommon to offer incentives to your tenant to leave early. This could be anything from covering their moving costs to paying them a certain amount. But remember, this should be a mutually agreed upon decision. You cannot force your tenant to leave before the end of their lease. This can be a tricky situation to navigate, and it's important to approach it with understanding and respect. If you're unsure, seeking legal advice can be a good idea. It's all about ensuring that both parties' rights are upheld and the transition is as smooth as possible. So sellers, keep in mind that communication and respect for your tenant's rights are key in this process. Let's wrap things up and summarize what we've learned today. In Quebec, a landlord cannot directly cancel a rental lease when they decide to sell their property. This is a firm rule, one that ensures protection for the tenant's rights. Now, from the buyer's perspective, it's crucial to understand that the existing lease continues even after the purchase. You're stepping into the shoes of the previous landlord, inheriting both the property and the tenant's lease. On the flip side, for the seller or landlord, it's essential to know that the sale of your property doesn't automatically terminate the lease. You're obligated to respect the tenant's lease until it naturally expires, or if the tenant decides to leave. Remember, whether you're a buyer or a seller, understanding and respecting the law is crucial when dealing with rental leases during property sales in Quebec.